Yes, Millie, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Just a minute. So, should I start?
Yes, please, please.
Okay, sir. It is rightly said by Dale Carnegie, all men have fears, but the brave put down their fears and go forward, sometimes to death, but always to victory. A very hearty morning to our distinguished guest speakers and respected faculty members of the ASL family for the day. It is indeed an honor to welcome you and experience your knowledge and wisdom through your profound words. I, Shiza Parvez,
And I, Akansha Jha.
will be your host for the day.
Today's world is going through troubled times. Literature reflects these troubled times through different genres like short story, novel, poems, etc. Narratives employed in these genres encapsulate the working of troubled minds. We, at Amity School of Languages, through this two-day international conference, will make an earnest attempt to have deliberations on narratives of troubled times reflection in studies of humanities. We hope that these deliberations will be immensely beneficial to one and all.
I am honored to welcome our chairperson for the morning, Honorable Dr. Arunim Bandhopadhyay, Associate Professor, Center of Russian Studies, School of Language, Literature and Culture Studies. Sir, it is indeed an honor and privilege to welcome you today. His areas of interest and specialization includes contrastive grammar, language typology, and semantics, with experience of over 19 years. He has been awarded the UGC scholarship under the Indo-Hungarian Educational Exchange Program in the academic year 2009-2010. Among his other excellent works, his best peer-reviewed works include Conterni's Contribution to Modern Linguistics and Space as a Category of Thought in Language and Grammatical Means of Expressing Spatial Relations. I invite Sir Bandhopadhyay to enlighten us with his words.
Good morning. Uh, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, you are completely audible.
Okay. Good morning. So I welcome all the participants in this conference on a very relevant theme, narratives of troubled times, reflection in studies of humanities. Scholars from France, Germany, the Netherlands, Russia, Israel proposed many theories of narrative. And each scholar has concepts of his own. So there are many theories, many ideas, many concepts about narratives, but they all agree on one thing, that the theory of narrative requires a distinction between story and discourse. Story, that is a sequence of events or actions, and discourse, that is the discursive presentation or narration of events. Since I'm, as you have mentioned already, I'm from Russian studies, so I must uh, remember the names of Russian formalists like Bakhtin. They propose the concepts of fabula and sujet. These are two Russian expressions, fabula and so you can say events, and sujet is the plot. The story as a series of events and the story as reported in the narrative. So, it's a very relevant topic, very relevant, especially in these difficult times. And I don't want to present, don't want to present my own paper since I'm chairing this session. So I'm sure in this session, many interesting papers will be presented on discourse and narratives, and mostly the importance of studying humanities in this difficult time. So now I request Miliji to tell the speakers about the rules, because we should finish it within, by 1:30, I think.
Yes, sir.
So
Sir, I'll take it
please, over
forward.
to you. Over to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for your utmost grace and wisdom. We can't be more grateful for your presence among us today.
I would now like to commence this session with the announcement of rules for the afternoon, which are: each speaker will be called one by one.
Each speaker will have maximum of 9 minutes in hand to wind up their presentation.
A polite reminder will be given at the end of 8 minutes by the symbol of a raised hand in the meeting, so that the speaker completes the presentation within the allotted time period. I am sure we will all have a fruitful and enriching experience today. I now invite our first speaker for the day, Professor Dr. Mala Tandon, who will elaborate us on the topic stress management in stressful times through art of mind management.
Thank you, and a very good morning to each one of you here. I was just trying to see whether I was in the right meeting or not. Just give me a minute, please. Okay.
Yes, ma'am, sure.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I must congratulate the organizing committee and of course under the able guidance of Professor Dr. Kumkum Ray ma'am, who's a very good mentor for all of us. She's so experienced and so enriched with immense knowledge, and it is always a pleasure to work with her. And I must congratulate each one of you here who have taken so much pains to organize this international conference on such a relevant topic. We've all been through such trying times. We've been through such troubled times, and nothing better to see a ray of hope in this. And definitely, I'm sure each one see this, the topic that I have taken, I don't know why it attracted me so much, stress management in stressful times. But I thought that it is, yes, everybody is going through stress. So stress management is very important. Stressful times are there and they will come in our lives, but then we need to cope up, and that can be done through the art of mind management. And that is what I am here to present on. And I would not take very much time. And I hope you all are safe and doing well in your respective places. The pandemic has already shaken all of us, caused a lot of stress, anxiety, fear, as well as skepticism, all in fact, pan globe. And everybody now is at the same platform, everybody able to empathize with each other, everyone able to connect with each other through the trying times that we are passing through since the last 2 years. And not only these last 2 years, I think the troubled times are there in everybody's life, but it is all our way of coping up, how we handle that stress, how we handle that situation is all about what I am going to talk about. And pan globe, we've lost hope, and there were lives, there were people living in fear. We know that the current situation has really shown us different scenarios, but we have managed the situation well, and definitely with an attitude of gratitude and seeing opportunities in adversities, we have all been able to sail across fairly well. I know we've all faced a lot of trouble. Yes, and we would all agree that we as human beings, we face a variety of people as well as situations which are not always very pleasant and acceptable. And they may cause annoyance and stress at times, even leading to create so much pressure that it actually results in physical as well as mental ill health. And we are not able to cope up with it and ultimately end up harming ourselves, and of course not only ourselves but our near and dear ones also. And I'm sure each one of you here are able to relate to it, because we've all seen different kind of situations. Now, what is to be done to cope up with it? I know we all have our own coping up techniques, but we may gain some more insight if we really focus on it. And that's what I would like to focus over here on. And for that, we need to understand a few concepts. I'm sure everybody's knowing those concepts, but then still we need to connect with them. And therefore, just to understand that stress, which is a feeling of emotional or physical tension, it can result from any cause, and we feel frustrated, angry, and nervous. Our body reactions change. Uh, we feel challenged, or there is a lot of demand on us to cope up and work against those stressful moments and overcome them. Health, of course, is very important, and at the bottom of all this is the well-being that we talk about. And well-being does not mean that you don't face or experience any kind of upsetting situation, but then it does mean that you feel you have the resilience to cope up when times are tougher than usual. And well-being means feeling good and strong in the mind and body, having energy, getting along with and helping others, coping up with situations, knowing our strengths, and feeling content because we are doing our best. And it means that we can cope up with little problems and disappointments. It means enjoying life, being grateful for what we have, and accepting ourselves just as we are. That is very important. And that is what I feel that we need to focus on. And when we talk of the art of mind management, which is the topic that I want to focus on exactly, see, mind management as such, it involves simply managing our own mind, and we know that mind is something which governs and controls us. But how do we manage? It's a big question, and the answer is also not simple. It's an art which we really need to work on. It requires some conscious efforts on our part, and living in the moment is the key word. Be mindful. It's mind management, so we have to be mindful, alert, and aware, and accept the situation as it goes. Because we go with one basic fact, we can only change ourselves and we can't change others. We know that all through. I think even when we are in the adolescent stage, we feel that we can change the world and we can really do turn things upside down. But at the end of the day, we realize that it's only we ourselves who we can change. We cannot change others, yes, but we can trigger the change. And when you say that it's others who irritate us, it's others who do acts which annoy us and they make us angry, because of them we are getting stressed, etc., and the list is endless. And here, when I say that we can only change ourselves, let's see how we can at least try, because it's our well-being and health which is at stake. So that is what needs to be focused on. So what can be done to ensure peace of mind, well-being, and good health, both physical as well as mental? That is important. And here I would like to bring in some tips for mind management, because it's an art, as I said, to ensure the well-being. And where do we begin? First and foremost, I think we all know it basically. It's just a sort of revision or just a sharing of experience. Believe me, today morning itself, it was such a stressful time for me. Since the past 4 years, they have been very, very stressful. And when we talk of narratives, just to share my own experience, it's really been a tough time. But then here I am talking about it, how I have been able to cope up with it, how I have been able to overcome those stressful times. And really, I am thankful to the divine, that whom I totally surrender to and I totally believe in, and therefore I'm here before you talking about it. So first and foremost, I feel it's very important to know our own selves. Be your own best friend, and we need to check the role of a best friend. It's like a mirror which shows us both the positives as well as the negative aspects. And to be our own best friend, we must indulge in reflective thinking, which I do, which I personally do. So I am advocating that, when taking some time out of those 24 hours for our own selves to think about our own selves, how our day went, actions, reactions, that we gave and got from the others, how could they have been different had we not reacted to the situation like we did? And once we are aware of our own functioning of the mind, the work becomes a little bit easier. Just like if we know the nature of a person, it's easier to handle him or her. So similarly, if we know ourselves, it's much easy to handle ourselves. So knowing or awareness is the first step. And then we also need to, what is important is to accept ourselves. Once we are accepting and loving ourselves as we are, with our shortcomings and with our strengths, then we can start working upon ourselves. Because I'm sure everybody would wish to become a better version of themselves. And here again, I would like to draw your attention to the fact that we can change ourselves. And you know the beauty of the game. It is when we change, we trigger a consequent change in others too. Though it is gradual, of course, it's not overnight. But then, yes, efforts always play. And well-being is what we want to ensure. So obviously we need to work upon it. And the very important thing that over the period of life and my experience here and in different places interacting with people, I've realized that it's very important to understand that we need to learn to respond and not react. Because reactions are impulsive and thoughtless. They may have consequences which we may not appreciate ourselves. So why react? Responses are thoughtful, and when you respond, you actually review and reflect the whole situation. As a result, you are somewhere managing and controlling your thoughts and words. And that is what mind management also involves. Though you may realize that it is time, but in actual, you have worked to avoid creating unpleasant situations. Because most of the times, it is somewhere we lead ourselves to those unpleasant situations. Of course, certain situations like the pandemic has come so suddenly and it has engulfed each one of us. And here, again, I would like to stress the point that you have been successful in handling the situation, which may have caused you stress.
Ma'am,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Yes. The students have already raised the hand to indicate that it is 1 minute remaining.
Just a minute. Yeah, I'll take only
Okay.
1 minute. Thank you, Kaushal ji. I will just take 1 minute, please.
All right, madam. All right.
Yes. So I hope we realize that it is we who can control and manipulate our situations in our own interest and in the interest of our loved ones. And it's a ripple effect. If we get stressed, everybody gets stressed, the whole work, it's a chain reaction that is there. And we also understand that what goes around comes around. So try to circulate only that which you wish to get back. Intentions should be good, should be to do good and do no harm. And when there are certain golden things golden words which we can remember, just a few tips here. Attitude of gratitude. I hope you all understand. Knowing our own self, accepting and loving ourselves, feeling good and strong in the mind and body. Meditate, which is very important, grow spiritually to delve deep inside. And then try to stay positive, do our best and leave the rest. Feel content, because when you're dissatisfied, you're always stressed. Indulge in reflective thinking, learn to respond, not react. Avoid creating unpleasant situations. Try to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. They already exist. And this is where I said, do good and do no harm. Thank you so much. I hope I've not taken too much of a time. I tried to be
Thank you
as
so much
brief
for
as
concluding in
possible.
time. Thank you. Thank you, madam.
There is a lot to say and a lot to discuss on such a topic which is very, very close to my heart, and I'm fully involved in it. So thank you so much. Thank you, each one of you. Thank you, Dr. Bandyopadhyay. It is a pleasure to present before you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing a part of your immense knowledge and aptitude with us.
Akanksha, please 1 minute. Sir wants to say something, so please give him a minute for that.
Yeah, no, thank you. So I'm just asking, like, should I ask a question to Dr. Tandon, if you allow me, if the organizers allow me?
Why not, sir? Sure.
Yeah,
It is between you and ma'am.
yeah. No, Dr. Tandon, I just one question. So
yes,
what do you think about meditation? So you do you think like meditation is very important for all these things?
It is very important,
Fight
sir.
stress.
Yes, sir. Yes, absolutely. 100% I feel that meditation is important, but done in the right way. You know, when you are reflecting, when you're taking an inward journey, and when you are actually concentrating, the whole energy is, I am a firm believer in spirituality, and I believe that the world is full of energy, and we are all connected with that energy. And when we are drawing energies, within ourselves, we are meditating, we are really focusing on our own selves and taking an inward ride, connecting to the soul. And that's where we are meditating, and that is of immense help. I personally have been able to overcome all my hurdles through meditation, and that is where I am so convincingly trying to tell you that it really helps. And the art of mind management is something which we all need to learn if we really want to be happy. There is no limit to discontent. That's what I feel.
Thank you, Malaji. So now, if anybody has any question, then I think we can invite the next speaker.
Yes, sir. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing a part of your immense knowledge and aptitude with us today. And thank you, sir, for being such a good critique. I now invite Ma'am Pooja Verma, who will discuss the topic Human Resilience Through Art and Craft During Pandemic COVID-19, which stands as a much needed discussion in these uncertain times. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Shifa. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am, you're completely audible and visible.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. And thank you, Malaji, for starting the session in such a thoughtful way. And my paper is entirely different because I belong to art and design field. So my paper is about how in this tough time, in this pandemic, how art and fashion or maybe performing art is helping us to cope up. So since it's needs all visuals, so I've created a PPT presentation. I'll be sharing it with you. Is it visible, the slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, visible. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Okay. So as my topic is human resilience through art and craft during pandemic COVID-19. Yeah. So art is a way of life as it surrounds all people in every location without us being aware of it. Since time immemorial, art has existed on this planet Earth. It is an intrinsic part of our culture which shapes our life, our ideas, and provides us with a deeper understanding of emotion, self-awareness, etc. In fact, art is a perfect tool to convey a social message as art invariably catches the attention. Art gives meaning to our life and helps us understand our world. Since the time of early men, when clothing and shelter were not discovered, still they were expressing their emotions through line drawing on the rocks and inside the caves. These drawings are example of their creative endeavor. So, presently the world is facing an exceptionally tough and challenging time in the history of mankind. The unprecedented pandemic caused by COVID-19 has created an atmosphere of panic and uncertainty. This virus knows no boundaries, no religion, no country. To provide some solace to humanity, various forms of art and crafts like painting, music, street art, DIY activity are the only easily available solutions. The truth is, each one of us is surrounded by art and craft, but we fail to realize its importance in our life. In current scenario, when we are disturbed due to new normal of staying indoors, maintaining social distancing, etc., our mind can only be relaxed by admiring a painting, listening to a music, restyling our wardrobe, etc., at our own pace. In fact, only art and craft can make our life and surroundings more beautiful. It also makes us forget our anguish and fear created by COVID-19. The artistic surroundings inspire us to build better and more compatible life and prepares us for taking on the threat of coronavirus by hope and positivity. Now, see, when we reach our home after a hectic day, a tastefully decorated home welcomes us. So, home sweet home. Almost everyone has some form of art in their room: a painting, a statue, a framed photograph, a centerpiece on a table. Even the main architecture and a design of a house is dominated by art. It is a proven fact that after a hectic schedule at office, when we return to a tastefully decorated and peaceful surroundings of our home, all our worries and problems just vanish. In our current scenario, when our brain is disturbed due to various things like wearing a mask, staying indoors, maintaining social distancing, etc., our mind can only be relaxed by admiring a painting, an artistic statue, or a well decorated interiors of a house. See how anybody can forget his or her worries in these surroundings of exterior and interior of their house. Then secondly, next is, as we all know, art is everywhere, influencing everyone whether we realize it or not. And this is the only reason why various forms of art are very important in our daily life. Whether it's a painting, graffiti, hoarding, or a mural on a market wall explaining how to follow the COVID-19 protocols. Usually, it is a matter of discussion, and people think that science and technology are superior to art and it makes our life worthwhile. But the fact is, art may not be a vital to fulfill our basic needs, but it does make our life joyful and worth living. As we continue to struggle with COVID-19, its variants, standstill life with moments of quick decisions and fragmented thoughts, arts allows every moment to be relaxing and memorable, which can lead to more self-satisfaction personally and professionally. See, in this visuals, you can see this street art, then these are graffitis on walls, and they are used by various advertising agencies because they invite glances and engage the viewer's attention. Then there's a hospital art, which is a need of an hour. And Todd Feather said, looking to the art for solutions inspires our team. But further, we are proud of what that means to the future of art in health. So art-based programs are a vital part of patient care as the isolation that patient experience has led to a higher level of depression and anxiety. Hospitals are often engaged to provide art experiences for both their patients and staff to provide much needed respite. During Corona times, small concerts, hospital art, and healing art are also one way of helping patients to recover faster and their family and healthcare worker to regain their composure and stay calm. See, there are some visuals how the performing art and other way of painting and graffitis are made in the hospital and how this worker is performing concert with the inside the hospital. Now, you can see the visuals how Jesus Christ, the painting of Jesus Christ and Mona Lisa are with the mask. So even in extremely difficult situations, art is a medium to convey message to the society. For spreading awareness, artists have recreated old masters painting like Mona Lisa and Jesus Christ with masks. The artists have also used picture of God and goddesses and folk art to convey the message of COVID-19. Hence, art also serves to carry out contemporary message to everyone. See, this is a fard painting of a Rajasthan. It's a traditional art, but here the artist Mr. Vivek Joshi has created this painting based on the COVID protocols in a highly creative way. An innovative design of masks, as you see in the picture. Since the face masks has become a necessity, entrepreneurs, startups, and enterprises across the globe are pouring sources into a development of new innovative and fashionable masks. The strong global demand for face protection has accelerated development efforts, and result is dozens of new creative masks are there available in the market. Musical solace. Music is a universal language, and its importance to our daily life can never be questioned. Subconsciously, we hear music through ringtones of mobile, television shows, commercials, etc. Similarly, during this pandemic, when stress is high, many people find songs relaxing and calming. The music is something that eases our mind. The soulful songs and music can make our life extremely joyful and can have a huge effect on our mood. Just singing a song along with a karaoke or a simul can make a lot of difference to our agony. The music has positive impact on people's mood and perspectives. It can
Ma'am,
boost our,
ma'am,
yeah,
yes. Sorry to disturb you. We are on the 13th and there are 24 slides, so you need to, conclude
okay,
faster because the
okay,
time is already up. The students have raised
right,
their
right,
hand.
okay, just okay.
Thank you.
So these are just the visual of jingles of Ab Muskurayega India. We each one of us have heard during our peak time of Corona. And then these are some of the DIY activities which kept us busy in our home, like cooking for male members in the family, gardening, and recycling of old garments. Then children, there are special section for children also. During the COVID, they have made this, there are many competitions for children, and they have made this, come up with these drawings like earth is saying save me, or these cartoon characters with the face mask. Then there are various art competitions for students also, like you can see in the visuals. These are the poster competitions where students have participated. And then there were some innovative initiatives like banging of thalis and clapping during this Corona time. And we can never forget the extravaganza when the entire nation was lit up to praise Corona warriors. And we celebrated Diwali in the month of April. And now just a small case study of Master Viraj Saxena. This boy is just 2.5 years old, and during Corona time, he started just drawing, simple drawing, and with the help of his parents, he has made a great impact, and he has been awarded as a grandmaster by Asia Book of Records, and currently he is just below 3 years. So this is how he has made this Corona as an opportunity for him. And these are just of painting of Mr. Viraj Saxena. And I think that's all. I don't need to conclude it only with one line, that surely art plays a very important role in our lives during Corona and otherwise also. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry for exceeding the time limit.
Thank you, ma'am. So I think I agree with you that everybody is an artist in his
Yes.
mind, in his or her mind, because once we appreciate an artwork, so a work of art, that means if we can appreciate, that means we also have that ability
Yeah.
to draw or to sing or to perform, and that is very much important in these difficult times. So thank you. Now
Thank you
over
so
to
much.
you,
Yes.
Malaji. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am, for bringing about such an eye opening research in these times of unpredictability. It is truly said that art is in all our hearts.
I now invite Mr. Shiraz Siddiqui with his extremely intriguing topic, Outlook of Indian Cinema Towards LGBTQ.
Kaushal sir, you're on mute.
Sir, you are on
Mr.
mute.
Siddiqui.
Yeah, yes, Millie, yes.
Mr.
I
Sir,
have
you were
invited him
Is he
in, sir.
there?
Yeah, he is
Okay.
now in. He is now in, yes.
Okay.
Akansha, you can invite him once again.
Okay. I now invite Mr. Shiraz Siddiqui with his extremely intriguing topic, Outlook of Indian Cinema Towards LGBTQ. Over to you, sir.
All right. If he's not, responding, so let's proceed to the next participant. And when he rejoins, then we'll see it.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. I would like to call upon our next speaker for the afternoon, Dr. Satyendra Mishra, who asks us to look beyond
No,
the.
no, 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 Shiza, no. Satyen sir is already, in the help desk, examination help desk.
Okay,
So
sir.
he will
Okay,
also
sir.
not be there.
We'll move forward then. I now call upon our next speaker for the afternoon, Ms. Syed Musarrat Fatima, who is here to enlighten us with her topic, Stress Management During Stressful Times, Using Reading as a Tool.
Thank you. First of all, thank you all the members. A very good afternoon to all my respected members present over here, the coordinators, the conveners, and all my delegates, and the people who have joined to, promote us as a new research scholars who have done something and just want to present their work for the first time. So if there is a mistake, please pardon me. I have just prepared a small PPT because of the time constraint. I would like to share it. And just give it to 1 minute because already we are short of time. Camera off. From the beginning.
It's
Yes.
visible.
So,
Yes.
yes, my topic, as per the paper is, and it really connects with the topic of the international conference, Narratives of Troubled Times, Reflection in the Studies of Humanities. And it was quite relevant and it was quite connected to the research work that I have opted for. And because this particular topic which I have chosen is stress management during stressful times, using reading as a tool. And in preparing my this particular part of the research project, I got full support and help from my supervisor, Dr. Manjari Johari. A note of special thanks to her, and my faculty members from ASL, my friends, and all colleagues who have been helping me throughout the journey, because I have been doing a kind of survey work for this particular chapter. And coming to the abstract part of this, which I just want to, I will not be reading the complete matter because we are short of time. So in the troubled times of the pandemic due to COVID, every aspect of our lives went on an unusual change, and it left a deep and everlasting effect on human society. So our lives stood standstill, and we were forced to stay behind the closed doors and windows to ensure safety. Now, during the process of protecting our physical existence on this earth, our brain, the superiormost body part, was undergoing certain undesirable changes. So, what I have tried in this particular part of the research, I have tried to find out the effect of reading, particularly the literature related to the celebration of everyday life. And I have followed the mixed research methodology to penetrate deeper into the fact, and it is an effort to find a correlation between reading habits and management of stress related to the pandemic. So I prepared a survey form for the adolescent readers, and I tried to collect the data from 6 different schools, as this is a particular area of work for me. And I have been a teacher for last 15 years. And to address the research question, the data was subjected to descriptive, inferential, and correlation analysis to connect the quantitative data and the qualitative part of my work. I further conducted group discussions, and it was done on the focusing on the follow-up of the quantitative results too. And then the data which was collected through survey forms was transcribed, analyzed, and categorized. So it was more than 1 year long period from on this the onset of first wave in April 2020 and the deadliest second wave in May and June 2021. And we were living a life which was beyond our imagination. We had literally transformed the real world into the virtual one. And the very unexpected and the sudden closure of the schools posed the institutions to the online teaching mode and resorting to various technologies and promotions of app-based learning atmosphere. And I have witnessed it very closely. I have been following how the environment change have really affected the reading atmosphere, the mental status of the children, and particularly the adolescent reader. The study examined the use of reading as a tool to fight the pandemic stress on their lives, and they were already undergoing the recovery phase. And in between that, again, that second phase, the second wave occurred. So the poor mental health due to the prolonged circuit breaker, which I called, it was the biggest challenge that the young population and of all the nations that is on the cosmopolitan level they were facing. And the big question was not only to address the problem of reading loss, but also to find the reading resources, preferences, and roles of the schools and individuals as young readers to make up the loss. So I just decided that I need to do something to find that how my survey can bring into focus the use of reading interest in the interest of the children in concerning their intellectual growth, and which was again an area to be explored. And I particularly wanted the work of my author, how it was helping the children in fighting the pandemic. No, not actually, I will say not the children, but as an adult, which is my broader area of concern. But particularly in this part, I focused on adolescent readers, how they were able to fight the pandemic stress or pandemic blues using few authors' work who were particularly working on the positivities of life. So I just conducted a literature review where I saw three basic points: how the readers versus non-readers was a big challenge, because somebody has said that people who are literate and it is my author only and do not read have no advantage over them who are illiterate and cannot read. So the above quote by legendary writer Ruskin Bond emphasizes the importance of reading in shaping us as an individual, and various researchers have already proved that children who outperform in their academics as well as in extracurricular activities are avid readers. Then we come to access to reading, how far the books or the reading materials were available to them. And a research by scholastic people, they say that the school closure during the prolonged period of COVID-19 forced the authorities to switch to online mode. But for the students, it was serious. The reading loss was, quite big. It seriously curtailed the access to reading material and literary activities which school could offer them. And the ones who had exposure of printed text at home were enjoying reading better. They were resorted to the material available to them, and on the primary basis they took over the resort to the books. And then of course, as the ESSA reports report of 2021 says, that the difference in the medium of the school was a big problem, because as per the government report, 29 million students had no access to any digital devices or the internet. So taking all this into consideration, that methodology that I followed was a mixed one, where I have collected the quantitative data also and the qualitative data also. So the atmosphere was not so conducive, and this become a budding ground for this kind of survey, and it is just an attempt for a narrower study. In the quantitative analysis, the survey was conducted through structured questionnaire, and it was in a dual mode, like it was offline and online also. And the sample size consisted of almost 60 respondents from adolescent age group. And like I tried to cover the government, public, and the convent school in this shorter project. And the qualitative analysis part was done by the follow-up of the quantitative data, and it was done by conducting of group discussions. Then whatever data I got, it was transcribed and analyzed to create a better understanding and deeper insight of the reading patterns of the young reader as a whole, particularly in the times of the pandemic. So the procedure cycle, I just want you all to just focus on this, because this is what I have done, and I try to represent this in the form of flowchart, where the survey form I had taken and then collected the quantitative data. Then I did the data analysis. Then this qualitative data also I collected from different group discussions. And then I transcribed and tried to merge with certain keywords and codes and all. And then I tried to find some certain conclusions. Then coming to the results, I would not be reading all, but I just want to, draw your kind attention towards few important points, that more than 90% of the school authorities, they switched off to the online mode. The two most preferred activities during the pandemic closure of a school for using the free time were indoor games and the leisure reading. a majority of adolescents accepted the role of digital media in spreading the negativity through that they accepted that its role, it had a positive role in disseminating the current information and awareness too. So at least 78.6% of them like reading books, with 85% of them wanting to read printed text only. So still the printed text is the first preference. Then about the authors of the children, which I had offered them the list, the two most preferred authors were Ruskin Bond and J.K. Rowling, and with a major percentage of 78.6 and 14.3. A big number of respondents, that is 92.9, were sure of the improvements in their narrative skills after reading the text offered to them, which was written by Ruskin Bond and related to the nature, life, and friendship. And one more thing which I want to discuss is that how this kind of literature was helping them in development of higher order learning skills, and that it showed that young reader did find the role of literature related to the celebration of the daily life in creating a positive mindset and affected their attitude in a positive way. And in the recovery phase also, they saw that it was working. Then coming to the
Musharrat ma'am, please try to conclude in a minute, please.
Okay, sir, sure. So then I conducted group discussions and I tried to transcribe the data also. Discussions, then the research tried to find the significance of reading in coping the stress related to the pandemic and how far the online platform could help in doing so. And you can see I have tried to show it through a positive flow chart that how the prolonged school closure was pushing factor for adolescent, as well as to become a better inclined to reading, and reading even prompted the achievements of higher order learning skills. So conclusions that while the research results were supportive of the earlier finding of the similar kind of research done in South India in September 21, which was purely online, but it really supported that yes, online platform and reading loss could be covered. I mean, it could be covered up to a larger extent by and it really will affect the positive attitudes in children by reading good literature connected to the positivities of life. And so I declare that yes, I tried. That there is no competitive interest in all something of the personal relation to the concerned members that may influence the finding in the report. I really acknowledge the work by the support work that I got from GGIC now and to other well-known schools of the Lucknow, who had permitted me to conduct my survey. There are some sample of questions that I have given in Appendix B and C. And then thank you so much for giving me a chance. And I think whatever I have done, it is not the first thing, but yes, it may be done in a different way, but it was my belief that yes, reading will be a very positive tool in changing the positive behaviors and mindset of the children, and especially during the pandemic and long closure of the school.
Thank you, Musharrat ma'am. Now let us listen to the words of the chairperson. Let him conclude what you have presented.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Fatma. Very interesting paper. But I have just one question.
Yes, sir.
You have rightly mentioned that reading is very important. But I think in today's world, what if we provide our children with audio texts? For example,
Yeah, sir.
if the story and narrates in a very beautiful manner, and schools can or parents can provide the children with the audio texts. What do you think?
Yes,
So,
yes,
yeah.
sir. Definitely, it is one of the part, because now in the future the blended mode of learning can be the new this thing, and we know that e-books are available, audio books are there, and as far as I am concerned, I have seen that government has started different platform also. There are Diksha videos and Diksha campaign, read along campaign. There is a collaboration with Google people also who are promoting such kind of reading. So, but our concern is on nation basis, so we have to see that are the government schools are also doing equally good as far as the reading loss is concerned, and how come the penetration of the digital devices is going to affect those children, because we have to see as the nation as a whole. So yes, I agree that it is a very good mode to read, and it can be taken as a part of curriculum also, sir.
Yeah, because sometimes if you force the child to read, this child may feel stressed. So instead,
Yes,
if you provide him or her with an audio text like a cassette or I don't know CD,
yes,
he
sir.
or she may enjoy. I mean,
Yes, sir.
while playing, the child can listen to the text. Right? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you,
So
sir.
over to you, Miliji.
Thank you, ma'am, for urging the young and the old to never leave the hold of words and books.
I'm honored to invite our next speaker, Ms. Ridhima Bhalla, who will throw light on her topic, a critical reading of troubled times in Jhumpa Lahiri's The Lowland. Over to you, ma'am.
Ma'am, your screen is visible to us.
Yes, Dr. Bhalla, you may start now.
Ma'am, you're muted. Please unmute yourself.
I am so sorry. I guess I have not, was muted earlier, right?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yeah. Now
Yes, ma'am.
my screen is visible to you.
Ma'am, your MS Teams is visible to us. Your desktop is visible.
Okay. So I have to start. I guess I have to start my presentation PowerPoint again. Right. Just
Yes,
give me 1 minute. Sorry for the problem.
no problem, ma'am.
Ma'am, it's totally fine.
Yeah. Is it fine?
Yes,
Ma'am,
ma'am.
your
Are you
presentation
able
is-
to see?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Am I
Very
audible
well.
also, right? Shall I start now?
Yes,
Yes, yes, yes, please.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Please go
Thank you
ahead.
so much. Greetings of the day to the respected chairperson and organizing team members and all my co-presenters of today's paper reading session. I'm Ridhima Bhalla, PhD scholar, Amity School of Languages, Amity University, Lucknow. And I'm going to present my today's paper entitled A Critical Reading of Troubled Times in Jhumpa Lahiri's The Lowland. As you all, under the able guidance of my supervisor, Professor Dr. Kumkum Ray, Director, Amity School of Languages, Lucknow. As you all can see on the screen, I have put up some lines from the text itself. A red guard is forming, traveling to villages, propagating Mao Zedong quotations, and our generation is vanguard. The struggle of the students is a part of the armed peasant struggle, Mazumdar says. So here, red guard is symbolizing the Naxalbari uprising of 1967. For generation, peasants were oppressed by the wealthy landowners for the dreadful living and dying conditions. In March 1967, they took up arms to destroy their masters for taking back their land from them. This revolution happened at first in Naxalbari, a small town in northern Bengal. The insurgency quickly spread to Calcutta and henceforth came to be known as Naxalite Revolution. Mao Zedong was one of the most important individuals in 20th century. He was a Chinese communist revolutionary who aimed at rapidly transforming China's economy from agrarian to industrial, and he was a Marxist-Leninist, and his political ideologies are collectively known as Maoism. So here, this statement, this statement, our generation is vanguard. The struggle of student is part of armed peasant struggle, symbolizes the involvement of college and university students in the revolution. This statement is quoted by Mazumdar. So Charu Mazumdar, who along with his comrade Kanu Sanyal, sought a worker peasant alliance and aimed at overthrowing imperialism, feudalism, and comprador bureaucratic capitalism via an armed revolutionary struggle. They both were the leaders of the Communist Party of India during that time. Moving on to the objectives of my paper, as it is very well evident fact that troubled times refer to a state of sudden misfortune in one's life. It can also be related to a sense of great loss or an extreme violent change in a particular calm and peaceful domain. Therefore, the present paper carries out a contextual study of troubled times of the Naxalbari uprising in West Bengal. The present paper goes the fact that how does the involvement of a community in the Naxalbari transmit and affect the relationship with their family members. And this paper will also give rise to the major premise that how do the traumatic events play a decisive role in shaping the lives of the characters in the novel and of a community, and how the dominant political forces inflict trauma in the lives of the involved community through the notion of remembering and forgetting. The prolonged trauma of Naxalbari uprising is not only faced by first-generation diasporic subjects, but also their second-generation offsprings are vexed by the inflammation of the original wound of ingress. Now, Naxalbari uprising, as India witnessed many tragic events like border war with China 1962, a large number of communal riots in Srinagar for the theft of a relic from a mosque 1964, the sudden death of the first Prime Minister of independent India, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, due to a heart attack 1964, and the Naxalbari uprising 1967 in the northern Cape of West Bengal in the second half of 20th century. So these events were the symbolic representation of social suffering with an understanding of intense fear of massive death and racial strife in post-colonial India. These events also gave an impetus to Indian powers to establish political supremacy in the country, as well as demand ownership rights for the sharecroppers in India. The revolutionary Maoist in India is the radical left split from the Communist Party of India, which was found in 1925. And the conflicts between the tribal peasants and wealthy landowners for the land holding gave rise to the new CPI-ML. So this CPI-ML is popularly known as Naxalites or Naxal, inspired by the writings of Mao Zedong. The savage atrocity upon local agricultural laborers by West Bengal police in May 1967 shook the entire West Bengal when the police opened fire at some of the local laborers who had been protesting against the landowners for their unjust distribution of the harvest. Talking about the Jumba Lahiri, she is a pioneer South Asian female writer known for her short stories, novels, and essays in English as well as in Italian. And the troubled times in her novel, The Lowland, clearly defines the motives of the 9th International Conference on Narratives of Troubled Time, Reflection in Studies of Humanities. The Lowland explored the narratives of two middle-class brothers, Subhash and Udayan, who were born after the Second World War in Tollygunge, Calcutta. They both were inseparable and identical and often mistaken for the other in their neighborhood. On the contrary, they had separate future goals. Udayan was courageous and imprudent. He was in the favor of Naxalite uprising and believed that agrarian economy based on feudalism is the problem of India's fractious politics, and the country needs a more egalitarian structure and better land reforms. Subhash was prudent and dutiful. He wasn't so much fascinated towards Udayan's political ideologies. Therefore, he moved to America to focus his research on chemistry and the environment. In his first letter to Subhash, Udayan mentioned the development of Red Guard in his country, and he also quoted, "War will bring a revolution, and revolution will stop the war." Being a revolutionary, Udayan favored his party's belief that too many children are victims of our defective social structure, and this needs first to be fixed. Now, in America, Subhash objected to Jeremy Bentham's notion of panopticon, which was developed by Foucault as a hallmark of disciplinary power as it's appeared in Discipline and Punish, whereby power is exercised, reflected, reflected through the individual and his body. Therefore, he knew that he could get arrested in America for denouncing the government, perhaps even for holding up a sign. Subhash returned to Calcutta after Udayan's death and saved his brother's pregnant wife before her receding future as a widow. And he married Gauri and brought her to Rhode Island, but the deadly encounter of Udayan formed a hole in Gauri's vision. Space shielded her more effectively than time, the great distance between Rhode Island and Tollywood. It had caused these movements to recede, to turn less and less visible and then invisible. But she knew they were there. What was stored in the memory was distinct from what was deliberately remembered. Hence, Gauri was haunted by Udayan's memory and failed to adjust him to his family. Later on in the narrative, she repays Subhash kindness by abandoning him and her daughter Bela to pursue her study in philosophy. Trauma in the lives of the involved community through the notion of remembering and forgetting can be proved by focusing on the situation where Gauri tried too much for contribution on the laptop. As she might have predicted, in spite of all the information and opinion, there was no trace of his participation, no mention of the things he had done, and there had been hundreds like him in Calcutta. Food soldiers who had been anonymously dedicated, anonymously executed. His contribution had not been noted. His punishment was federal for the time. Therefore, the novel presents the Naxalite uprising movement where Udayan sacrificed his life for the future of an unbiased society and for a movement that had been misguided and that had caused only damage. But the killing of Udayan changed the dynamics of relationships of his parents, Subhash, Gori, and even his daughter, Bela. The tragic end of Udayan left an unforgettable scar for the rest of their life, and the involvement of Udayan in the revolution is not only affected him as an individual, but also traced the social and political wounds in the entire community. And this is the reference list which I have already referred for bringing up these ideas. And thank you, everyone. I want to end my presentation with the quoted line of Jhumpa Lahiri, which is apt in the reference of Udayan and Subhash. That is, most people trusted in the future, assuming that their preferred version of it would unfold. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was indeed a very enriching topic. Sir, do you want to give some?
Yeah, thank you for this interesting paper. No, I don't want to ask anything, but since I also I'm a Bengali from Calcutta, and I have my father and my relatives also faced these agonies during that period. No, I just would like to ask you, do you think this movement, this ultra leftist movement is very popular even today among youngsters?
Not today, but during that time it was very much popular, as this movement was not a successful one. So, but as you mentioned, the agony which you faced, which your family must have faced, the same type of agony Subhash and Udayan faced in the novel. So that's why I have tried to mention it. And it's a troubled time, which is related
But
to the.
You can see even today, many youngsters are they not only cherish these ideas, but they are also actively involved in activities. So, what do you think about that? Why this is so?
See, basically, like suppose if we talk about the today's generation, today's youngster, though they are absolutely like they are influenced by the Maoism ideas, but still they have the sense of mind. Their perception is different as it was earlier. So basically, the movements, their ideologies, simply it's not. I could say it's not up to that revolutionary ideas. It's not prevalent in the society as it was prevalent in that time, the second half of 20th century. Still the time has changed.
Okay, thank you, Milichi. Over to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, sir. I now invite Mr. Ajit Singh, who will share a paper that was prepared jointly by him and Dr. Archana Durgesh. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. I hope I'm audible to all.
Yes, sir,
Thank
you
you, ma'am.
are.
Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you, ma'am. So now I'm going to share my screen. So I hope this PPT is visible to all.
Yes, sir, it is.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you, respected chairperson and all my fellow speakers. So I, Ajit Singh, research scholar from BBD University, Lucknow. I'm going to present my research paper, The War of the Worlds, a depiction of cultural invasion in troubled times. So I've chosen this novel, The War of the World, because this novel share a lot of common things as we are having in the present scenario, that is the time of pandemic. Let us understand more about this novel. So this novel was published in 1897 and it is written by Sir H.G. Wells. As you all know, the H.G. Wells is considered to be the father of science fiction. He wrote some amazing novel like The Time Machine, The War of the Worlds, The Invisible Man. And I remember that this novel, the novel War of the Worlds, a movie is made by Steven Spielberg. It was released in 2005, if I'm not wrong. And this novel share a common theme, uh, that how the society are in trouble and how they are facing the difficult situation. And if you see this, go through this novel, you will find the same scenario, same atmosphere of fear and the frustration as we are living in the days of lockdown, pandemic. Right now we are having the third wave of corona. And that's why when I was going through the novel, I found this novel is still relevant. See, the interesting part is that it was written in 1897, but it's still after more than 100 years, this novel is still relevant to us. Now let us come to coronavirus. So as you all know that we are in the third wave. uh, in fact, as per the record of WHO, more than 332 million cases has been reported, and world have lost more than 5.5 million people. If we talk about India, in India we have lost more than 5 million people, sorry, 5 lakhs people. And till now we are facing more than 2.5 lakh cases per day. So this is quite devastating for the society. And we, yes, we are living in troubled times. In fact, we are looking for news. We, when we watch news channel, when we read newspaper, it multiplies our stress. It gives a lot of troubles in our mind. If we talk about the economy was devastated because of COVID. The health infrastructure was overwhelmed by the cases. Okay, in fact, in the second wave, we have seen how people lost their life because of the lack of the oxygen cylinders. I would like to quote one data given by NSSO last year, that we lost the GDP by minus 23.9 in the month of May 2020. So this is true that we are in trouble time. And when you read this novel, it echoes the same feel. Yes, if we talk about coronavirus, it comes in different mutation and different forms. In the first wave, we have seen alpha COVID virus, then beta. Last year, in second wave, we have seen the devastating delta form, and right now we have seen Omicron. Now, this Omicron has a unique feature. It somewhere it fools the whole vaccination program. Yes, the best part is that most of the countries, they came up with vaccination policy. If we talk about our country, India, we have COVID Shield, by produced by Serum Institute of India, and Covaxin by ICMR. Apart from that, there are several other vaccines like Sputnik and all. So I would like to connect this storyline of the War of the Worlds to the present time. If we talk about the story of the War of the Worlds, it is about the attack of aliens from Mars, and these aliens from Mars are known as Martian. It is similar to the same way as we got the alien virus, the novel coronavirus. Okay, so when we connect this Martians and with this virus, somewhere we find yes, they are very dangerous. But how the Martian attack? Because those Martians, they want to they want to capture the Earth, and it was imagined by G. Wells that how aliens have attacked. So yes, if you read this particular novel, you'll find a lot of common things. Martian attack through their devices, which is known as tripods, and we are being attacked by different mutation or the different forms of virus. And this virus is very intelligent, as those Martians were very intelligent. This virus is very powerful, as those Martians very powerful. If you see the shape of the virus, it looks very bad. This is my personal feeling, that I don't like the shape of the virus. I know that nobody is liking the shape of the virus, but if I would like to quote in the book one, that how the Martians were looking. So there was a line mentioned by H.G. Wells, that those Martians were having dark-colored eyes, peculiar, and they have V-shaped mouth with its pointed upper lip. They have heavy body, and they have got oily brown skin. So I'm saying in my own words, mixing with some quotes. So if you see the appearance, it is very bad. They look like animal, but still they are very, very intelligent. In fact, they overpowered us. They overpowered the humanity. Now, yes, once you read how they captured, they attacked human beings or those people in London through tripods. They gone with spreading chemicals, and people were living in a constant fear. They start leaving the houses because it was attacked by those Martians through tripods. And the common public places, there's a mention that there's a common place known as Horsell Commons, which is a public place where people used to celebrate and they have picnic. It was captured by the Martians. They have captured that particular place, and they start killing masses. Okay, they start they're doing the massacre of people. So and there's a character in the novel called Curate, and he becomes insane. So through that you find that people they start losing faith in religion. So sometimes we were in continuous we are in continuous fear that if you remember the second wave, we have lost our friends, our family members. In the same way, the clergy with the sorry the curate was feeling, and he was saying that now this is the judgment day and these Martians are the god ministers. So there's the second thing which I found, which is quite similar and connecting to the present scenario, is the theme of invasion. H.G. Wells uses Martian as a symbol of invasion, as British use their imperialistic power to control the other countries. Like there's a mention in the chapter one that Britishers they controlled the people of Tasmania, and it shows the imbalance of power. Similarly, as we are facing this virus is extremely powerful in front of us. We have a lot of vaccination. We have overcome from a lot of diseases. Polio is being eradicated, but still we are not able to overcome from this virus. So as Martians, they defeated us to some extent. This coronavirus coming again, and it is very strong competitor for us. Through this novel, he attack on the hollowness of the social institution. Like in the War of the Worlds, they have got very strong military. It becomes nothing in front of them. It attacks on religion like sorry, it attacks on institution like religion, on faith, on military, because the society of 1897, when the H.G. Wells was writing, it was very developed. They have railways, they have telegraph, but once the tripod attacks, it becomes nothing in front of them. So in conclusion, I would like to mention there are a lot of similarities and differences which I noticed while reading this novel, that that after the attack of those Martians, the whole city become barren. Nobody was moving outside the home. People, they were hidden. They took hide in their homes. So the whole city become a mighty. There's a mention of the whole city become a mighty desert of house. And if you see the novel, in both the cases, the society were not knowing how to tackle the enemy, because the enemy is super smart. Like Martians, they're very intelligent. They were very technically they were very sound. In the same way, this virus is very intelligent to us. Okay, and yes, the people were in stress, and they were losing their family members. We are also losing our family and friends in the second wave, even in the third wave. So yes, we can connect that somewhere we are having the same troublesome time. We can get the same narrative of the troublesome time. And yes, one more thing, like there's a hope in the novel. In the novel, Martian ended because they were not immune. They were not immune to the bacteria, because those Martians, they'll ultimately they died because once they come into the atmosphere of Earth, so they were not immune to the bacteria. But here we are not immune to those virus. Okay, and one interesting point I would like to mention, that virus came into existence in the year 1898, and this novel was published in 1898. It was earlier, it was published in 1897 in the serialized form, and it was published as a full-fledged novel in 1898. So after doing this particular a kind of research on this novel and connecting with this thing, I came to this conclusion. So this is all about my research paper. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. That was an immensely intriguing topic to ponder upon.
Thank you,
I
ma'am.
would now like to ask our chief chairperson to enlighten us or give the
Yeah, Dr. Singh, a very
Yes,
interesting
sir.
paper. Uh, I
Thank you,
was
sir.
just listening to your paper, and I was thinking, like, I think Martians is a, it's a metaphor.
Yes, sir.
We only created, and we only create Martians, or we means, I'm
Yes.
not blaming any particular country or any particular race or any, but we means the entire humanity created COVID virus, and
Yes.
it is we who can destroy it. We created and we can destroy that. Only what we need is our, like we should work together.
Definitely,
So
sir.
in Martian, it's a metaphor for all the vices that we create.
Definitely, sir. Agree.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
moving
you so much, sir.
on. Next up, we have Ms. Deboshri Bose. She'll be elaborating on the topic literature in the pandemic. So I welcome ma'am. Ma'am, please come forward and share your presentation with us.
Deboshri, can you hear us?
She's there in the meeting, but I guess she's on mute.
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
All right. So, sir, to introduce to all of you, Deboshri is an MF second year student with us in our department, and she decided it little late. Yesterday itself, she completed her paper, so we are giving her a chance. Though her paper is not included in the minutes of the meeting, but yes, we promote and invite her to be a participant for this conference. Thank you, Deboshri, and you may proceed. Please unmute yourself, Deboshri, and proceed.
Yes, sir, we're starting.
Good afternoon, sir. We three are Avantika, Deboshri, and I are doing this together. Is the screen visible?
Yes,
Yes,
it's
it
visible.
is.
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon to all our guests, teachers, and our fellow students here. This is Vaishnavi Chaturvedi, Deboshri, and Avantika from MA English, and we are here to present on the topic literature in times of pandemic. While everyone was stuck at home during the lockdown as COVID 19 hit, there was a dramatic change in writing and reading habits across the world. Literature helps break boundaries, transcending through diverse chronicle periods and time zones. Ed Young draws a parallel. In the classic hero's journey of the mariner, in the ancient rhyme of the mariner, the archetypal plot structure of myths and movies, the protagonist reluctantly departs from normal life, enters the unknown, endures successive trials, and eventually returns home, having been transformed. If such a character exists in the coronavirus story, it is not an individual but the entire modern world. Coleridge's poem unleashed a prophecy. In his own life, it would play out as harrowing voyage into addiction. From 2 centuries away, it appears to have a presaged an ecological catastrophe. To us today, it speaks of the sea moment, the liminal state, the treacherous zone between a ruined world and a new one.
Virginia Woolf on Death and the Spanish Flu. Illness, unlike war, as English academic and writer Elizabeth Utka brilliantly demonstrates in her book Viral Modernism, written in 2019, is a story that easily slips out of cultural and historical memory. In Illness, the modernist writer Virginia Woolf observed, "We cease to be soldiers in the army of the upright, we become deserters." Woolf, writing in the wake of the First World War, saw the threat that the Spanish flu of 1919 posed to the stories of national triumph. Influenza moves in invisible and unpredictable ways. It renders everyone potentially vulnerable. Mrs. Dalloway provided an entry point to make sense of the business of studying and thinking while a new national emergency unfolded around us. The protagonist of Mrs. Dalloway is a survivor of this. We meet Mrs. Dalloway as she weaves her way through London, experiencing the quiet intensity of life one morning in June. What is remarkable about her writing is that Woolf draws our attention to how death pushes us beyond what we can know. In this unknowing, we are forced to admit that our lives are more fragile and dependent on the lives of others. As one of her characters articulates in The Voyage Out, "It seems so inexplicable," Evelyn continued. "Death, I mean, Why should she be dead and not you or I? It was only a fortnight ago that she was here with the rest of us. Woolf's ability to show how hard it is to explain death helps us to understand the difficulty of living with its presence. In the face of the loneliness of death, the growing demise of its communal forms, the diminished structures of public mourning, she provides us with a language for death outside of national structures of commemoration.
Eco-critical analysis of Edgar Allan Poe's The Mark of Red Death, the raven, in 1845 is noteworthy due to its use of the bird raven to represent evil and death, which is also employed as a symbolism for the narrator's grief of losing his beloved. His genre of writing focused on mystery, gothic, and thriller, which positioned himself as the pioneer of detective fiction genre. Furthermore, Poe managed to transform the genre of horror story through detailed comprehension of psychological depth experienced by the characters. His writings are characterized by its flirtation with death, grotesque characters, and tragic endings. The Mask of the Red Death, a short story by Poe to underline representation of plague outbreak. Poe positions his narration under the outbreak of the titular disease and explore the inequality based on the social and class divide concerning the ability to cope with the disease. His story conceptualizes how the upper class nobility abandons the villagers to their fate and hides in luxurious abbey, only to later visit by death that takes their lives. In the end, Poe's narration foregrounds the inevitability of death through the death of all characters in the story. This study employs eco-criticism as the framework to mainly focus on the representation of non-human entities in form of diseases, arguing against disparities of epidemic treatment between the rich and the poor, and contemplating the inevitability of death. Horrifying nature of plague is a picturesque depicted through the words of Poe's narration. The prior excerpt underlies the temporality of the story. An interesting aspect is how Poe contrasted between the short time range for an infection to occur until the termination of the disease, half an hour, and the long time the plague devastated the country. Poe invites the readers to reflect on the looming threat of pandemic and diseases, especially the horrific condition experienced by the infected. Under the belief that the disease is contagious, the infected are castrated from the society and are denied. This marks a demarcation between the sick and the living, which is employed through Poe's usage of binary opposition. The prior excerpt can be as a criticism towards the capitalistic and materialistic emphasis of happiness, which is built upon the plights of local peasants. As articulated by Zapf, Poe's short story functions as an allegory of a hedonistic society, which is contrasted by the poverty ridden world in the outside. The dramatization of medieval society, which is divided among social lines, is further highlighted during the time of pandemic. As explored in the prior passages, there lies a stark divide between the world inside the castle and outside the castle. The division becomes a struggle to survival, as only the wealthy have the ability to treat illness compared to the less well off peasants. It can be stated that the Poe's narration dramatizes the existence of social divide based on the accumulation of capital and the differing ability of each group to cope under the wide pandemic.
Much of the literature on pandemics, the plague in particular, often describes the neglect, incompetence, and selfishness of those in power. In a world without newspapers, radio, television, or internet, the illiterate majority had only their imaginations with which to fathom where the danger lay, its severity, and the extent of the torment it could cause. This reliance on imagination gave each person's fear its own individual voice and imbued it with a lyrical quality, localized, spiritual, and mythical. There are many books which referred and in some cases came into existence as a result of a pandemic. A very early record of such a pandemic could be found in the history of the Peloponnesian War by Thucydides, where he refers to the typhoid fever that took over the Athenian army during the war, making them weak. Apart from typhoid fever, measles and smallpox, plague occupies a very prominent place in the history of pandemics around the world. There are references of Antonine plague that came to the Italian peninsula with the soldiers. In Rome, an outbreak of Cyprian plague was recorded. Bubonic plague or the Justinian plague started in Egypt and reached Constantinople, killing a huge number of people. A Byzantine chronicler, Procopius, has recorded this pandemic and has talked about the massive number of lives it claimed. It is the 14th century plague pandemic in Europe which has given the disease such a prominence not only in the history of pandemics but also in the history of literature. There are many paintings depicting the impact of the disease in various parts of Europe. Giovanni Boccaccio's Decameron is a famous work of literature that has captured the experience of the disaster caused by the disease in the form of stories. Another more recent reference could be Albert Camus' The Plague, where he describes the pandemic as something which rules out any future, cancels journeys, silences the exchange of views. The author mocked at the fact that people actually fancied themselves free, but the fact is no one will be free as long as there are pestilences. Thus, using the pandemic of plague as a symbol, Camus made apolitical statements on the relation of the oppressor and the oppressed. There are many other books like A Journal of the Plague Year by Daniel Defoe, The Last Man, and The Scarlet Plague, both by Mary Shelley, where we get the references of plague. Among Indian writers, the celebrated Malayalam author and the Sahitya Akademi Award, U.R. Ananthamurthy Samskara, contains references of plague as a pandemic where the disease was a symbol of the stagnant orthodox values. The outbreak of influenza or the Spanish flu in the year 1918 was also mentioned in many works of literature. In the novel entitled Twilight in Delhi by Ahmed Ali, the author says Delhi became a city of the dead. On the other hand, some writers like the well-known Hindi poet Suryakant Tripathi Nirala lost his loved ones during the pandemic. Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore, in his Bengali poem Puratan Bhritya, has referred to the outbreak of smallpox. The outbreak of smallpox is also referred in the works of Malayalam writers like Takazi Sivasankara Pillai's Thoti Uday Makan and Kakanandan's Vasuri, highlighting the story of the human emotions and the moment of crisis.
The prominent Oriya writer Fakir Mohan Senapati has also talked about deaths caused due to cholera and the dislocation of the families that took place due to the pandemic. Similar references of cholera could be found in the novel entitled Love in the Time of Cholera by the Nobel laureate Gabriel Garcia Marquez. All these books talk about the impact of a pandemic in the society and social relationships. It is a historical trend to hold a particular nation or community responsible for the cause of a pandemic. For instance, Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius blamed the Christians for the outbreak of smallpox in his empire. Similarly, during the consecutive outbreaks of plague in Europe brought accusations against the Jews of poisoning the wells. The story of blaming each other using pandemic as a medium is thus very old. It seems to be an old trick to claim the top seat of the power hierarchy. But on a positive note, pandemics gave birth to the works of literature that captured the moments of human emotions at the time of a mass crisis.
Excuse me,
These
ma'am.
works of literature.
Ma'am, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we are short of time and it's already 12:58. So, ma'am, you can
Sure,
wrap it.
it's
Come
yes,
on,
okay.
finish it in 1 minute. Come on.
Yes, sir. These books attach us back to people and life when we actually get detached from each other. Life and human coexistence appears to be precious in true sense in these works of literature.
Survival of literature in present times. The bookshop Sunny Yasnain's Chilu's bestseller bookstore in Srinagar used discounts and delivery innovations to survive COVID-19 in 2019. He introduced a unique sales model for which bestseller is now renowned. I wanted to make books affordable for young people here as they want to buy and read more books. He said some books, mostly for young readers, were also reserved for free giveaways every month. With more
All right,
time being spent indoors.
Avantika, try to just scroll through, read the names of the books and the special points if you have anything that you wish as the conclusion you wish. You can add in 1 minute.
Sir, we'll conclude it then. The gift of
Yes.
our time is social media. Small businesses popped up, and even though the future of publishing is going to be challenging, These instances give us hope. On one hand, we saw people at their worst, restless and lost, angry. Most of us collectively found solace in Instagram reels. Something very interesting happened. These reels started to carry poems by Faiz Ahmed Faiz and Amrita Preetham in the background. Women and men assumed themselves the main characters. Self love and the expression of love was enhanced by this presence of poetry, which had started to fade under some claustrophobic reality. It's a curious time for publishers, booksellers, and literary awards to help sustain the habit of book reading in an increasingly vocal and representative world. While literature during the pandemic became a safe place, the prospect of its transformation and survival through these times remained unsure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you to all three of you. Your presentation was so great and the enthusiasm was infectious. Now I would request our chairperson to please give his reviews.
Yeah, interesting. Literature in times of pandemic, or hope in times of despair. It can be uh, renamed like that. Yeah, literature is very important, and we should not lose hope. Yeah, one thing is clear that, as three of you rightly pointed out, that all this pandemic and war and disease is a creation of human beings. Like, we created it, created by us. Some of us, maybe power hungry people or scientists or some leaders, they just want to suppress and oppress
Yes, sir.
the entire humanity. So we are suffering because of our own, actions. It's not that somebody from other planet did it, right? Okay, thank you. I think very interesting papers. Kaushalji, is there any other present speaker? Yeah.
No, we are done for this session, sir.
Okay.
And 1:30 we will start with the next session with
Millie,
Dr.
can you?
Sonu as the.
Now I would like
Yes,
to
yes,
declare the
Shiza,
house open.
please.
If anybody wants to say anything, they can
Yes,
come there.
yes,
They can share their experience. The stage is all
yes.
yours. And then we can proceed with the concluding remarks by our chairperson for the day.
No, sir has already said, but yes.
Yes, yes, please. I request
Any participant, any
all the
presenter, any
participants
audience,
to
if you have anything,
actively
please.
participate. Yeah, participants means you should
Ye-
actively participate. Please share your ideas
Sir,
and opinions. Yes.
sir, may I share my views? This is Ajit. Am I audible?
Yes, Satba.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes,
Please go ahead.
Yes, you are audible, but if you switch off your camera, it would be
Thank
better
you, thank
because.
you. Sorry. Okay, sorry, sir. So, yes, my personal experience that from yesterday to today, the papers are really exciting, very interesting. I like one paper to mention that about fashion. It was, I think, second or third paper. It talks about the fashion. I was not expecting that fashion is a topic that used to cover in this particular conference in that about the troubled times. And a personal, I would like to appreciate the last, and their paper was really enriching for us. And yes, I learned a lot from them. So all from my side, thank you so much. The paper was really very interesting. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Ajit ji, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I just want to say one thing. Am I allowed?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Just 1 minute. A big thanks to all the organizer for choosing such a relevant topic, and especially the member who's been helping us in choosing and supporting the way it is required for a research scholar, particularly for my paper, because I chose the topic stress management during stressful times, and particularly for my author I chose the topic and selected some work. I have I just want to tell you people that when I was conducting the offline survey and I was interacting with adolescent, there were a few very surprising facts that I came to know, and maybe in broader, chapter of my thesis, I will be mentioning those. And as sir said, yes, it is possible. We cannot force people or children to become readers, but yes, we can start a kind of catalytic reaction so that it becomes a campaign, it becomes a national scenario where reading hours, where, a reading habit needs to be inculcated. And still the printed text is the preferable, kind of activity the children and adolescents prefer. But yes, in the blended mode of reading, we have to give the importance. And for this only, I have started a reading campaign in my job area, and I'm, connecting to children, to the adolescent 3 times in a week, and trying to, inculcate this reading habit through reading the stories and, interacting with them. So that was all. And thank you for your input, sir. Of course, for audio, yes, there is a big problem for government schools, but yes, we are trying, and we are trying to bring the children who are studying, who are going to the government school, at par with the children of the public and the convent school. Thank you, sir, for your valuable, input.
Anybody else?
Thank you, ma'am. So we are left 5 minutes for the scheduled meeting. You must also have received that pop-up. So I think better it is we take the concluding remarks from the sir, and then we can express our
Yeah.
thanks to the participants.
Okay.
And yes.
I don't want to say a lot of things. I just 2 words is that very interesting papers. And one thing we have realized that the world is anthropocentric. Like we have to be together to fight against all these odds, the difficulties, the ecological changes, and we have to be together. But unfortunately, we are fighting with each other, and that is why all these things are happening. But our pleasure, our joy, our despair, our sorrow, should be shared with each other. But unfortunately, we are very, each individual is very different from others, but we are very selfish. Like, though we are different, but we should feel that we all belong to the same human race. And all our perception, our science, our art, all our feelings are very much anthropocentric. So we forget that basic thing, and that is why we are suffering. All our agonies due to our own actions. So I hope after this session, at least we all participants will be aware of the fact that we are all one. There is only one race, that is human race. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Your words speak volumes to us. It is rightly said that nothing teaches better than the trio of the fears, the tears, and the ears. It was nothing but an honor and utmost privilege to experience the knowledge of our speakers through them. It was a session we will hold on to for a lifetime. I would now like to thank our distinguished director, Dr. Kumkum Ray, for enhancing our knowledge, which will be resonated in all our endeavors and help us follow her footsteps in times to come. I would also like to thank our organizer for the session, Ms. Shraddha Srivastav Man, and our distinguished chairperson, Dr. Arunim Bandhopadhyay, for gracing our session with his presence. I also thank the faculty coordinators, Dr. Kaushal Yadav, Dr. Archana Gupta, and Dr. Nidhi Mehta for their guidance and direction. It would not have been possible without you teachers. I also present my heartiest thanks to all the speakers and paper presenters for the day. Dr. Mala Tandon, Madam Pooja Verma, Mr. Shiraz Siddiqui, Dr. Satendra Mishra, who was not with us today, but Mr. Syed Musarrat Fatima, Ms. Ridhima Bhalla, Mr. Ajit Singh for adding colors to the session, including Ms. Deboshi Bose. This session would not have been possible without your presence. I would also like to thank the student coordinators, Ms. Priyanshi, Ms. Navya, Ms. Paramita, Ms. Shubhi, and Ms. Gauri for their technical and moral support. I thank my teammates for the paper reading session, Ms. Millie, Ms. Ishita, and Ms. Akansha for being the pillars of strength and discipline. I also thank our patient audience without whom this session would have been monotonous. Thank you, everyone. It was indeed an honor to have you all with us today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you to
Thank you.
Arunim
Thank
sir
you.
from my side also. And
Thank you. Thank
why
you.
Shiza should be left. So I thank Shiza for thanking everyone from our side. Thank you,
Yes.
Shiza. You have been wonderful, and definitely Millie, Akanksha, and Ishita, all of you coordinated very well. So thank you for making this session a success. We'll
Caution, sir.
join 1:30 for the next session.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir.
The caution, sir.
Okay.
There's a
Thank you.
request.
Yes, sir.
I would request everybody to please switch on their camera so that we can take a picture and cherish these
Sure,
memories.
sure, sure. Definitely, definitely. Before we leave, we should go for a group photograph. Yes.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. May I leave now? May I leave now?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Okay.
you. Yes.
Okay.
You.
Okay.